Right. So let's get going because time is moving on. So as you can see, we've got Peter Ellington, Charlie Ellington. Peter is the founder of Triple Bottom Line Accounting, and you may well have seen him on these webinars before. Peter's been on several times, and together with Charlie, who is a designer turned, I don't know, digital builder. Maybe is that the right word? Not a not a bricks and mortar builder. Together, they've been working on the practice triple bottom line and then putting in place an AI operating platform. So I think a really, really interesting session this is going to be. So let's get going. So Charlie, if you want to share your screen. Oh, and the other thing, sorry, I always forget this. If you've got any questions, either put them in the chat or in the Q&A. We're going to deal with those at the end. So I will just, okay, let's see. Can everybody see that? Does that look good to you? I can hear some background noise somewhere.
That's my office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay, that's fine. That's great. All right, Charlie, I will spotlight you and let's get going.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Susan. Yeah, quick background to me. I'm a designer, product designer, and I started coding about a year ago, and I've really been having a lot of fun working with my dad for the last 3 or 4, 5 months now, building a practice, building AI into the practice is kind of our goal. So I'll let Dad introduce TBLA a little bit more in a minute, but I'll just show you a little bit of an overview of what we built so far, what we're doing. And at the end of the session, we invite questions. One more thing from the background. I think when I was around 20, when Dad was starting Triple Bottom Line Accounting, he expected me to come in and work with him at some point, and I didn't. I went off and did my own thing. So working now with him feels like I've gone full circle, which is super, super fun. So before in the client's practice, when we started this, we were looking at the problems which were in it. So I'll get Dad to speak about these more later on as well. But one of the first problems was data. We have the practice, but we have several systems. We have things like free agent, we have tax calc, all these different systems, and no way to access that data. And what makes AI super powerful is when you can give it more context. So the more data it can access and you can work with, the better work it can do. So all these things disconnected, Bright Manager, another system as well, not accessible. Then another big problem after that was proposals. These were taking my dad. I'm going to call him Dad, not Peter, because that makes sense for me. We're taking 2 hours each. They're written late at night. They take a lot of time. They're in a Word document. And we wanted to essentially reduce the amount of work he was doing, especially on the sales and the proposals. And then another problem was onboarding. Yeah, manually doing it. You're going out to emails to every client, asking for them to send their ID, proof of address, letters, statements of engagement, these kind of things. This would take weeks, and it would be like a full-on admin role, which actually goes to my sister as well, another family member, to do this. And we wanted to try and get that admin work down and also speed up the process of onboarding clients. And we're also working on now is how the team actually collaborates and works with AI and starts jobs. But that's actually been built this week. So we built 3 things: unifying the data, working on proposals, and onboarding. So I want to do a quick overview of the data side of things. Essentially, it's getting one AI operating layer. Nothing is being replaced here. We're just connecting up all the systems into one joint database. So we connected Free Agent via APIs. We connected Bright Manager. Doesn't have an API, so we actually do a manual scrape through automation and AI, which gets all the data off Bright Manager. Tax calc, again, we manually upload into our database because it's CSV exports. Companies House has an API, so we can connect and get information. And there's other tools which the practice use, like Calendly for booking meetings, Stripe for getting identity, Resend is an app we use to send out emails automated through our system. And also Anthropic, obviously, is our AI connection. And on top of that, we could connect Xero, QuickBooks. It's all possible, but in TBLA, most of the clients are through Free Agent, so we've prioritized that. That's where we're at. And the first thing I built was a dashboard. And the idea was I wanted to give dashboard with screens, graphs, these kind of details, so we could see what clients are actually profitable. So one of the big goals from this was to see, like, how can we increase the profitability of the practice. So we had graphs like this one. Essentially, it shows the good clients and the bad clients by mapping revenue over time. And you can see those answers there. And you can see where there's clients you need to fix because they're below a certain standard. And you can see where the good clients are. So we built this as a dashboard, illustrative data. And then I realized that Dad wasn't using it so much, and it's kind of very set and rigid. And the powerful thing about AI is when you give it the context and the data, it can start to actually produce work specific to what you need. So I built what's called a model context protocol. And it's essentially a way of connecting an AI model or an AI interface where you chat with the AI to your data or to a system or to something else. So in this case, we created a model context protocol, which should access all this joint up data, things like invoices, deadlines, bookkeeping, health. And that means that you can essentially type into the AI interface you're used to, like Claude.ai, ChatGPT, questions, and then it can access all that data and then work with you. So I'll show a quick screenshot of examples here. So I put this in earlier. Can you tell me about the TBL client, Speech Bubble Marketing? Speech Bubble Marketing is my company, so I can show this data. And I asked it to anonymize data, which relates to the practice. And this is just it starting its work. It found the tools. It could look up Companies House for my company data. And then here's a quick overview of what that actually came back with. It's just like a quick example. You can go way more powerful from this, but straight away, it found the information from Companies House. It's found me. It's found the details there. It's found a proposal, which actually was an example one we created, the details with the different services offered. And then it's given me an analysis against the practice. So how much the monthly recurring fee is compared to other clients, other revenue, things like this as well. The profitability of it, how it's actually going, any risks with it. And from that, you can then basically ask more questions or start to do work with tools like CoWork or Claude CoWork and things like that. So I'm going to go over to Dad now and ask, like, how have you been using that tool and what is your experience? Do you have something to share on this screen, Dad? Otherwise, I'll just keep this screen up. You're muted.
Yeah, just to keep that screen up. Just going back to the problem statement. We are a growing practice. Triple bottom line accounting as a concept is people, planet, prosperity, and it attracts people across the country who understand that concept. And so we've got clients that are regenerative farms. We've got clients that are ecologists, environmentalists, people, the Carbon Accounting Alliance, for example, which is a membership organizations for 1,000 IT companies that are doing carbon accounting, for example, they're a client of ours. So we've got some very interesting clients in that space. But the issue with constantly growing is that the team are under pressure to meet their deadlines, and me as a 68-year-old start taking the slack, and so my work week keeps on expanding as our client base expands. So that was generally the problem. How am I going to work less hours? Also, at the time that Charlie and I started this, I just had some offensive offers from PE, because at 68, I was thinking, what's the exit route? Where's the tunnel or the exit door? And to be frank, one of the offers, which was not very good financially, actually said, my strategy is to AI your business, which I thought, well, that's interesting. And another one, others were just stupid. They were just basically giving us the money that we make every year back in a capital gain, which was silly. So, my response to them was, thank you very much, but I know how to take the money out of my business myself, and I don't need your help to do that. So we needed to change. And so this change doesn't necessarily sit on its own. IT and AI is great, and it's enabling us to meet what we want to achieve. We were already heavy users of AI, and we using a number of models, but again, alongside that, we have a 5-pillar strategy, which is about vision and mission, and we're a B Corp. Okay, so that also means we attract other B Corps, which is a big revenue stream for us. Management information, but not just for the sake of it. So where Charlie is talking about management information, we actually use it. So for example, I put in my free agent bill, my QuickBooks bill, and my Xero bill every month, and I check it against what we're charging clients, and it tells me if we're undercharging anybody or anybody's cancelled, so that I can then cancel or get rid of the QuickBooks or free agent license or the Xero license that we're paying for, but we've forgotten to move on to the client. Obviously, we should have better off-board processes, but it captures those sort of things. AI, clever use of AI, so we've got it everywhere. We're using a whole AI stack. Okay, and this is what Charlie's showing you today is part of that stack. Performance management, we're on 4 monthly performance management reviews, and being a 12-people organization in the UK with 4 people in India, we're actually recruiting a HR person 3 days a week to be HR and coach. So I want to be look over here, there's this shiny toy, we should be using this, we should be using co-work and so on. We should be setting up working papers before we send them to India with a problem statement, and then India becomes our human in the loop for checking the work that's been done on co-work. I want to be that, we can do this. And then Lisa, the new HR person that's coming in a month's time, will be, what skills do you need? What training do you need? What development do you need to start going in that direction? What stops you from moving into this new world? We're calling it new world and old world. And this, what Charlie's demonstrating, is new world. And then operations, we're obviously UK based. We're using a lot of AI, but human in the loop all the time. It's not like Xero, you kick it off and then black box in the middle with AI outputs at the end. We're human in the loop all the way through, and then we're using QX in India as a part of it. So that's our problem statement, and we're I've just explained how we're using that database. But for example, yesterday, for account managers, they specifically asked for this. I got it to run a report of all their clients by client type, by profitability, and it's looked at the hours that are worked on that client versus the fee income that we get for that client. And it's also, so it did a whole list of clients, and then I asked it to do a further report, and it suggested that they need to put a couple of clients on hold because they weren't paying us, that they should consider a review of another couple of clients because they looked like they were loss making. And then, for example, what we could do from that as well, if there was a lot of hours spent on a particular client, we can go back in and say, well, where were those hours? When were they spent? And by who? Was it all India? Was it all bookkeeping? Because bookkeeping heavy clients tend to weight the hours out against price because it's a lower price value product. So we're doing inquiries into the database all the time. We're not just taking it every time as absolutely correct. We often have to go and look. That's one of the key findings. As soon as Charlie had finished the first sprint, we had to go back looking at our data and improving our data. And that's encouraged us, good practice, to improve our data back into Bright Manager and so on. Okay, so that's where we are.
Super. Let me just move on to the next slide. So the next thing I want to show is proposals, and I'll hand over to Dad to actually show a proposal being generated live and how he uses this. So just a quick overview of maybe more of the technical side before the actual demo. It was a 2-hour job typing up the proposals, and the old method was Dad would have a sales call with the client, and then he would take the notes in the sales call, and then he would then go over them, make a Word document ready to send to the client. This time, he has the sales call. He gets a transcript of the call, so he uses a software called Granola. We then put that into our system and then into Claude. And then again, we have another model context protocol, which can basically fill in a branded template of a proposal, which we can then send as a shareable URL link. So it actually creates what we call a front end, like a website, a customized link to actually send to the client. And Dad can edit that proposal through Claude, or he can also manually edit it as well. So Dad, I'll hand over to you and stop sharing my screen, and you can actually show this happening live.
Okay, so we've shortcutted the process because this process would start with a telephone conversation or a video conversation, and the client would tell me about their problem, and I would potentially give them some solutions and tell them how we would go about fixing their problem, what our standard would be, what the prices would be, and so on. So I'd have all that information being recorded in a call. That's Granola, very powerful tool. It's a UK company, but it invoices in dollars, so that says a lot about the UK's economy. But it's the Granola software is very, very, very good. So I would take that call, and I would. I'm sharing my screen, aren't I? So
No, you're not.
Oh, sorry. I would take that call, and I would drop it into a. I've actually got a facility where I can check on Companies House that the company exists. I say who the account manager is going to be. I put the call notes in. I say what type of category client it is. So I've got a number of category types. So an A type is a fractional financial controller role, for example. A B type is we do all its VAT, payroll, etc., and bookkeeping. And a C is we don't do the bookkeeping and so on. So it knows that. And then I open up Claude, drop in the notes, because I can extend notes as well. I can cut and paste documents into that as well. So then from here, I ask it to create the proposal, and this isn't we cooked it beforehand, and I'm putting it in the oven, and now magically 2 hours later here's the end result. This isn't like Blue Peter, so it's actually doing it as we talk. So it's checking out speech bubble marketing on Companies House. It's requesting information from Companies House now. I found my closure rate is much higher now. I was experimenting with Get Cone, which is relatively cheap, but I mean, I thought that was really powerful sales software. And I've got my Claude set up, so it has to ask me pretty much all the time what it's up to, because I don't want to let it go rampant across my apps and so on. So I was liking the look of Cone, but another thing about sales proposal, they start talking about the accountancy practice. Often, most sales proposal systems, Charlie has sort of come in with the sales angle, and we go straight into the client and what it's like to be the client. So this is some of the team here. This is the proposal. So it just did this. Okay. So there's a little introduction. So if this is part of a call, this would be saying what the problem statement was and who the client is. This changes according to the account manager. This then says what we're going to do for the client. There's then our products and services. This is a bit like Cone, because I can drop this out. The Cone software does it like this, and I kind of like the look of that. So we do that. Then it's got the pricing structure. That's quite a typical C-based client for us, a C category client. And a little bit about us. That's written every time uniquely. There's Charlie's mum, who is our carbon accountant. and our HR specialist at the moment. She's retiring. That's why somebody else is coming in. And some of our accreditation, what happens next. And I can edit all of this. And there's some little caveats, sort of like you do, we do's kind of things down here. And I can edit all of this. So I can, if I don't like what it's saying, I can go and replace it, or I can break it up. Or if I really don't like it, I can go back into Claude and just say, that proposal you just written, it's a pile of slop. Could you do it again, or improve these aspects, please? Which I have done a few times. So that's demos, a sales proposal. And seriously, it's as quick as that. I'm on the call. I do my Wednesdays, I have sales calls, half-hour sales call. I then get half-hour break, and between that call and the next call, I've got the proposal out. I was playing with sending it later in the day to pretend it takes longer, but I've gone for just bashing them out. And yeah, that's where we are.
Great. I'm just going to share back to my screen now to show the next bit. One thing is worth saying is that you can edit the proposals with Claude to keep on going, and you can also manually edit them as well. And this is something which we're seeing a lot with using AI. Is it's an assistant layer. It's making your job faster, but you're still very much the judgment and the agency within the process. So you'll create that proposal, and then Dad will still look over it manually, check everything is right. We don't hand anything over to AI without that human in the loop process. It's supposed to be used as a tool to make everything better, easier. The clients get a better experience, and the team gets a better experience too. The third thing we built was for onboarding. This sits a little bit less on the AI, but the whole interface itself was built with AI, and there are some AI bits within it. The idea is that we give the clients one screen, one place where they can do identity, sign their engagement letters, share details like the previous accountants, and just manage essentially this whole process. So once they've accepted the proposal, they go to a screen like this. This is an example of one with everything done and everything completed. Let me just see if I have a tab up with another one. This is just a little back end of our thing. If I go to onboarding, this is in dummy data, so none of these are real, but I can actually load it up. An example. This one, the setup is complete. And this one I want to see, I think it's actually not quite right. Yeah, here we go. So this is what the client sees. They can then verify their ID. They can do their engagement letter and any other actions which are required. And then it completes. What the team sees, the team has got a back end to this. So whoever's managing the onboarding of the client, they can see what's complete. They can edit things. They can override statuses. They can see all the details about the client. And then also where we do use AI here is for some of the checks, but then it goes into this human in the loop layer. So this is just fake. This isn't my address, by the way, if anybody's worried. This is an example where somebody has uploaded a bank statement for their proof of address, and I can see the AI extracts the fields from it. So nobody needs to go to the original. It's got the details there straight away. I can open the original if I want to, but I can see the main details, the name, the address. And if I've uploaded an ID to the system as well, it gives the name, so it already knows if these two match. And then the engagement letter, if I've filled in details, it should then match up to this as well. And then the AI is giving us the information we need as quick as possible. So there's 3 checks need your attention. The ID, because it was a passport, was not uploaded, didn't have an address on it. There's a slight name mismatch, so it's not completely sure. And the document uploaded was over 90 days old. And for this, you can then, the human layer, once seeing all this information, you can decide to pass it, or you can decide to contact the client or request another. It's basically, again, the human in the loop for the judgment, but the AI is speeding up as much as possible. For the client side, it was taking weeks to get the proposal to getting accepted and all this information. We've launched this now for a week and a half, and the first few clients that gone through it, I think successfully have kind of completed it within days. So clients getting onboarded has been much faster. Dad, do you want anything to add about the onboarding process and things about that? You're muted.
The funny, probably the humorous thing is that the onboarder and offboarder is Rihanna Ellington, which is Charlie's sister. And so the onboarding system is going to enable her to go from 4 days a week to 3 days a week in September, and enable her to spend less time chasing clients because it's more self-service, and just deal with the manual workarounds, and spend more time moving into more of a marketing role where we're going to start doing campaigns directing to other B Corps and so on, to attract more business into this process. So it's just streamlining everything and making it just so much more efficient and probably and better, because we're doing a Stripe ID check to get the ID checks together. That's more efficient, more modern day. It does mean that we don't have to keep photo ID records anymore because they'll be kept in Stripe. That's correct, isn't it, Charlie?
Correct.
Which is more secure and more modern. And so it's not just automating it and saving it time. It's actually improving it and making us look far more professional as an organization. And I know the accounting profession talks about referrals and that we don't really sell. All we do is get referrals. Well, yeah, we get referrals, and we get referrals through doing a good job. And so the better the job can be, the better the impression can be, the more referrals we're going to get.
Perfect. And I think one thing to say is there are other tools that exist which can onboard clients and do this process. We built something custom just because the cost of building something is much lower. So, for example, there's things there which there's other client management tools, for example, and if you add up the SaaS software cost of these tools, if you add the user cost, what they charge the accountancy practices, if you add that up over a year, it's generally cheaper now to bring in somebody to develop the solutions. And that's kind of a little bit of the thinking behind this. And it's much more customized to how the practice works. So all the tooling, all the back end of this, it's how the actual people use it. And if anything comes up with it, we want to change a process, we can change that process. So from that, I want to talk more about like how AI is changing the work. And from Dad's side, he's going to talk about how it's changing his work and the teams. So just from my perspective within tech, very quickly, I use AI all day, and I think I've never had more work. There's a narrative floating sometimes, which I just want to address, which is that AI is automating everything, and therefore there's going to be less work for people. I'm very much seeing the opposite, that every agent or every AI needs a human. So that means you're generally working a lot more as a result of this. Or in some cases, you're working less, but with more productivity and agency. And Rihanna, my sister, is a good example of getting this tool and then needing to work less hours as a result of things. And yeah, this is kind of like a thing about talking about what this happened before. Generally, as technology comes in, although it hasn't happened as fast, there hasn't been a situation where there hasn't been a positive impact over the run. Short term, it's debatable what will happen, but I think sometimes the narrative about AI, the destructive, this is going to be problematic, wins, because that's very imaginable, but the positive outcomes don't get talked about because we can't imagine those as much. Cheaper work creates more work. Essentially, when we put in more computing power, we use desktop computers, these kind of things. The workforce that was using it grew, and 73% of UK firms are turning away work. Then just a few more things, just seeing how this is working. You need expertise to know what to do with intelligence. This is very much applicable to accountants. I think I don't see necessarily these tools and enabling people to do their own accounts. I think they're still going to need expertise to actually do these things, and it runs into more of a customer care role. And some of the legwork, the hard work, is done by AI. You need to focus on what to do more. That's what's happening with AI. And I think this thing, the human is the interface of the customer, not the product. So for accountancy practice, it's not going to be an AI which is interfacing with the clients. It's the human who will interface with the customer. And regulated industries like accountancy, that means that this kind of stuff is much more impactful because the accountancy practices very much sit within that. I'll get Dad to now talk about his experience with AI, and then the last thing here is just to show what's next at TBLA, and then we go on to questions.
Okay, so what we're finding is that we want to create more time, and so the AI is part of that wider strategy of the vision, the meaningful MI, and using it properly, AI, and how we operate, and how do we best utilize our partners in QX in India? How do we best use co-work and so on? And we're working as a team as to how we address those challenges. So it's very much changing from on a day-to-day basis. You know, the work comes in, a set of accounts, you set up the working papers, you do the reconciliations, you get client queries in, and so on. We're trying to move away from that as a traditional model to be doing more planning. So as we start a job, how are we going to get this job, where we're going to get it done, how we're going to break down the constituent parts of it, how are we going to do the reconciliations, do we do them on co-work, do we give them to India to do, and where's the human in that loop. So what Charlie has done so far is about that, getting the data into one place, getting the sales in one place, getting the onboarding in one place. What we're now looking at is our workflows, and we've started the sprint this week. We're looking at starting a job, engaging with the client, making sure we got an up-to-date LOE, making sure that our risk assessments are up to date, that we got the right IDs and so on. Some of our clients are 15 years in and we've not renewed their LOE, so we're going through a process of ensuring that everything's up to date. So it's enabling us to get our regs up to date. So we've got that, and we're already in AI, but as co-work in Claude as opposed to code, and Charlie's now coding that part of the process. What we've started ahead of Charlie's next stage is that we've started dropping general ledgers into Claude co-work and asking it to review or create the starting working papers. And so everybody's probably got this as a problem, but we've got 40 MTDs to do. And our process for MTD is to put the general ledger into co-work with a script about what MTD means. So, for example, look for when a client is claimed petrol or mileage allowance, 55p mile allowance, compared to if all the costs for the car in there are as well. Because, as you know, it's usually a common occurrence that people are putting all their car expenses in, but they don't even have a car on their books, and so they should be putting mileage in instead. So it's looking for those things, and then that will be part of an email that goes to the client saying, we've spotted this, what's your choice? This is what you should be doing. We found these expenses. They look like they're personal. Can you please explain whether they're personal or not? So that's our first stage of the process. What we started doing earlier this week as well was looking at putting in working papers and saying, replicate these working papers from last year and start populating them with information from the general ledger. What we're also trying to do is new world, old world. We're bringing in new resource. We've made enough money to be able to recruit some more people, and we're trying to bring those new recruits into kind of like a new world and in more of a coaching world. So, for example, Thursdays 10 to 11 every other week we have our team meeting, and now from 11 till 3 we have a learning session, and it's voluntary that the team members attend, but we'll experiment, or somebody will present something they've been doing on AI and show the other members of the team what they've been doing. So, for example, over the last 2 weeks, Luke Hilditch has built quite an incredible business planning model. We have a client who's a membership organization, and their memberships are spread over 12 months, and so their P&L account is quite different than their cash flow. They're quite cash rich, and so the cash was never really a problem until now, when the memberships aren't renewing as fast as they'd like them to. And so as a consequence, he's rebuilt a model using flawed co-work that takes the economic event, i.e. a member signing up, and compares that, does the P&L account version of the forecast and the cash flow part of the forecast. He's done about 2 weeks work in 3 days, and the model is really robust. He's been checking it and testing it and proving it all the way through, i.e. a human in the loop. And so as an organization, it's changing what we do from being, doers, that you get a job, you start it, you process it through, to managers and planners and strategizers. And it's actually, the next stage is to really get us out in front of our clients. My big rhetorical question is, banks have already got in on MTD, so you can do MTD using Monzo and Starling. Okay, how long is it before the banks completely eat our compliance dinner? Because I could see that happening, because they're there, they've got in. So what's to stop them taking the whole lot of the compliance base? And where does that leave us, other than being the human in the loop, in that we're the people that can explain what the bank's done to their accounts. We're the people that can help them with forecasting a cash flow that makes sense to them. We're the people that can help them strategize their business and so on. The real advisory. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think that's where we've got to go. And I think that bringing in AI at this level enables us to do this. Another thing to say is that what we're seeing is that HMRC have got AI. We know that they've rolled out AI. We know that with MTD, they're going to be looking at this stuff, and they are going to be doing that check between petrol and cars. So if you haven't done it, they're going to be coming back to you and saying, you've got a client that's got petrol and maintenance and mileage. Why is that the case? So we're spotting that before HMRC spot it, because the other scenario where we don't spot it is that we've got to explain to HMRC why they're asking and why they're finding them and why we didn't spot it in the first place. So if you don't go with this, it's like you've got bows and arrows and HMRC have got guns, and you're not going to win that one. So you've got to be thinking about how you adopt these tools, because they're here and they're here to stay. And also Charlie will confirm this too, but the capability of the models has changed in the last 3 months alone. Things that you couldn't do 3 months ago, or it was hallucinate, it's just not doing that anymore. It's just the accuracy of its finance work is so much better. I'm not saying that you walk away and ignore it and you trust it, because it's very good at hiding things. But Dave Selleck would say it's probabilistic, and you must accept that. It's not deterministic. You must accept that there's problems, and that's why you've constantly got to be checking and being skeptical of what it's doing. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment, and it's quite an exciting journey.
Cool. I think I've only got one more slide left, which was just having a little overview of what I see next on it. Yeah, this week we're working on live job boards, so all the pieces of client work are visible. And just to note on how we use AI on that, the AI is able to see what the team is inputting about the job they're about to start, and we're building rules around it. So essentially like a what we call a system prompt, so an AI prompt detail. When the job gets put together, it sees what the team member is putting in about the job. It can also analyze things like the client's bookkeeping, because we're connected to Free Agent. And before the job is started, we then have all this information central to the client, to the team member. So they could see, for example, things such as the bookkeeping is in bad order, in fact, from the AI analysis of it, and then can decide, essentially, the team member can then decide, okay, maybe I need to reprice this job because it's going to be a lot more work actually getting this into order because the client hasn't done bookkeeping for a year. Or it could tell the tell the team member, why aren't you doing this job with another job? Because that would make more sense. And we can start to really enable the team to do better work as this, or things that the other team members have learned be put into the system. And a big thing is making more profitability. So spotting where clients are paying too much. And then further on the roadmap of this is we'll keep going back to the team and asking, like, where are the problems? Where are you spending time where you wouldn't want to spend time? And just enabling them with this tool to be able to do better and, to my sense, more enjoyable work, essentially. So for me, just a big thank you for letting us to be here, and I think we can use the remaining time for questions. I'm not sure how the format works, Susan, but I'll hand over to you, I think, for how questions go.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I mean, absolutely fascinating. Right, I'm just taking the spotlights off everybody so we're all on screen together. Yeah, incredible what you've done. And we've got one comment in the chat from Jonathan. I think when you were talking about banks, Peter, banks and HMRC are all using AI and making inroads into our industry. Time for all accountants to rise up to the challenge. Yeah. And then we do have a question in the Q&A. This is from David Charles. Now, we've got, oh, sorry, you've answered some of those questions. I might just read them out anyway, Charlie, just because people on the webinar can't see that Q&A, and
okay.
And it may be things that people are thinking about. So the first one was, how would you deploy it? Send to the client, and what do you use for any data that you need to collect? Storage. So last accounts, returns, AML, ID information, etc., needed as part of the engagement process. Yeah.
I can answer that. So previously that was very done manually, which in my opinion it was secure. It passed the practice requirements and the legal requirements. But by building this, we could actually make things like storage for the client data and especially AML ID information much more secure. So we use Stripe Identity for the ID checks. And essentially the way that works from a user perspective is it goes to their application. They accept the terms of service there, and the fact that Stripe will store that data, and the user uploads a copy of their ID, and it does a photo check. I'm sure everybody's gone through these kind of similar experiences. We chose Stripe ID for that because it's on a cost base, usage basis. So it costs about $1 per or $1.50 or something like that per ID check. There are other services out there, but they want quite big fees. You're looking at sort of monthly fees, which total up to about £3,000 or dollars a year. So that's why we use that service. And we also have our own databases as well. The sensitive information is actually siphoned off in its own storage. So we do store the proof of addresses, and that's in a separate storage to the main database. This also answers, I think, the second question as well, which was I can read that out, Susan, and then go into that detail.
That'd be great. Thank you. Yeah.
So the question was, answering a different question, I assume you need some sort of database to receive any uploaded data and something to point the client at to access the forms and engagement process. I answered that in the text, but the first project we ran was actually building that database. So we have the practice data, source from other tools, so Free Agent, Bright Manager. That's all that data is in there, and that's how we can connect that data then to Claude to answer questions. And then for the onboarding, from previous answer, we use Stripe Identity for the IDs. Proof of address are in their own secure independent database, not connected to the main database.
Okay, brilliant. So David's just saying we've used chat tools, mainly ChatGPT Business. It's been very useful, but impressed by what you produced. Do we have to use Claude to achieve similar results? And I know, Peter, you've put an answer in there, but maybe if you could just...
No, there's an alternative stack using ChatGPT, isn't it, Charlie?
Yeah, I think I can talk about AI models and the different providers. They're all competing against each other, and they're all good quality for the work. I have a preference for Claude because it's very good for coding, so that's what I use. But other tools like ChatGPT Business work just the same. As for what we built with a model context protocol, so connecting up these datas, that's not limited to Claude. That can work with any AI. So if dad or a team member wanted to use ChatGPT or Perplexity or any other different model, they could switch to use that as well. That's not a limitation there.
Okay. And then we've got a question in the chat from Michael. Did you use any company to help guide you with implementing everything? Do you use N8N, etc., for automations, etc.?
Good question. I experimented a lot with N8N about around about 7 or 8 months ago, and in the end, I started producing automations ourselves. So I use Claude Code to put things together, and generally we build our own custom solutions. I believe, to me, it's given me more control, but N8N is also a really good tool for creating automations and plugging AI. It's good for creating an interface where you can connect up different tools. So you can say, when this happens, do this, do an analysis. It's doing the same thing that we're doing a lot of the time. So it's also very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just Susan, just on we've got an AI policy. It's compliant with AIA. We're AI, but it's compliant with ICAW and ACCA. I mean, we are very different in that we're not just an ICAW practice. We're CIMA, ACCA, and so we've got every flavour, MAAT. So we've got every flavour of accountant, I think. So we meet everybody's compliance there. We're enterprise only. So the most expensive one is actually Granola, but because we had to go, there's three models: the open model, the team model, and the enterprise model, and that's the most expensive one. But we didn't want our conversations leaking into the world. All our other licenses are enterprise licenses, which are guaranteed not to allow our data out into the wider world. And we're constantly updating our policy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, useful to know. So I mean, I've got a bit of a question. Unless anybody else has got anything else, is what would you say to somebody who wants to do this kind of thing in their firm? What would the first step be, do you think, to getting something like this working?
I think would be first to get Claude Enterprise license for your team, and then start by getting started. Just start using it in your emails and seeing what it can do for you there, and then just being imaginative. Because I mean, yesterday I said write an email to QX about this set of accounts and what to be done, and then I've realized I still had free access to Fable, which is the most advanced Claude model. And I said, well, you're so clever. Why don't you just produce the working papers as well then? And it went chunking off and did it. And I went, oh, there we go. But I've sent them to QX and they've said that they're not to the standard that they need to work to, which is really, really interesting conversation. And now they've then said that they'll write us a bit of code or a co-work prompt that will help get the papers into the sort of format that they want from us as a draft set. So this world is all about collaborating and using good ideas, and that's why we've started the first day sessions from 11 till 3, so we can just I just found this week. Okay, let's have a look and let's see how that works. Let's see how we can all work and how it's just moving so quickly.
Yeah.
And if you don't keep up, you run the risk of obviously getting behind. And it's really is, as we said earlier, how fast is it before other things start taking work away from us as accountants? And I personally think it's just a matter of time. Fortunately, the world is sort of driven by habits, and those accountants that have got sellers full of paper and accountants bring in bags and so on, they're still successful and they're still working well. But is this the change? Is AI the change that's going to change that? Maybe not, maybe yes, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah. And why not be prepared for the future? Excuse me. Right. So if anybody else has got any questions, I don't know if any of you are furiously typing away at the moment, but please hang on, I think something's just come into the Q&A. So David, again, we're just about to appoint an IT AI consultancy to create the kind of joined up AI system you've described. Can you give a rough guide to the likely cost?
Or should I say how much I'm paying you, Charlie?
If you're happy to, yeah, I'm happy to hear that to go out. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm paying 5,000 euros a sprint, and a sprint is taking a week, and it's producing, Charlie's producing at 2 months work in a week. So, and then we have had the conversation because, I've been working for a long time now, and I've done systems in spreadsheets using macros and things like that, and they've always needed maintaining. So we just had a conversation about maintenance, and I'm paying, I've committed to 10 hours maintenance a month as well. So we've got a maintenance agreement so that if we see something we don't like it, we want to tweak it, or it's not working, then Charlie's on hand to fix it for us. So there's got to be a maintenance bit there. So we've done 4 sprints, so we've spent 20,000 euros, about 16 grand, and now we've got maintenance contracts as well, and we're doing a sprint a month. So my budget overall for the whole project is 50-60 euros, and then but we're generating the business. I mean, the proposals. The really sad news is we did the proposal system to reduce my time, so that I spent a quarter of the amount of time doing sales proposals compared to what I used to do. Now I'm doing 4 times as many sales proposals. So I've still got the same amount of time. It's just I'm doing 4 times as much, and that's then pushed more work into the business, and then that means that we're recruiting.
Mm-hmm. This is kind of a theme with AI, and to touch on the cost things here, to give you an idea of those sprints. The first sprint was unifying the data and having the database. The second sprint was the proposal system, and the third sprint was the onboarding system. So you can see like the level of output from that, which we're doing in each sprint for each of those payments. Dad is obviously on a dad rate compared to what I would charge for the other clients I work with on this kind of similar stuff. And realistically, I did a lot of analysis when I've been doing these sprints of like how much would this cost in what I call old world and new world. In the old world, like just one of these sprints probably would have been 7 people, or so maybe 10 people in the development team working for 2 months at a time at costs of like 200,000. So this AI coding essentially has reduced the cost significantly. And it's not because AI writes the code or can do the work faster. That's an element of it. It's more because the roles are compressed. So I do the roles now of 7 people. My old agency, we used to have 7 people teamed doing something similar. Now, as a designer, I can do my design role. I can also do the project management. I'm also doing the client management. I'm doing the coding. Everything is condensed into one person. And because there's no handover, things are done considerably faster as a result of that. So yeah, the costs of coding things and producing your own custom tools has gone down significantly as a result. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. So we're running out of time, but we've still got time for a couple of questions if anybody's putting anything in. So what have we got? David saying, thank you very much for your advice and your willingness to share sensitive information. Yeah, I do appreciate that. And yeah, it's good to know, because it's something, unless you've done it, you don't really know, do you, how much things are going to cost. So yeah, I mean, if there are no more questions, please just say thank you in the chat. I think it's such a fascinating session. This will be in the Accountants Know-How Club later this afternoon, the recording. So there was a lot in there. So if you need to go back and look at this again, just go to the Accountants Know-How Club. And yeah, thank you very, very much for everybody for joining us, to Peter and Charlie, and to all of the others in the audience. So thank you. And I will say goodbye unless there's anything else coming in. Wait a minute, someone's put something in the Q&A. Oh no, just a thank you for an eye-opening webinar. There we go.
Great.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thanks, Susan.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Right.
Thanks for watching.
Okay.
I hope it was informative and useful. And
It really
thank you
was.
very much.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.